This is a Hot Pie Media original. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. H-E-L-P. Help. BetterHelp. Now, is there something that's interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Everybody who listens to Stop Self-Sabotage has something that they want for themselves that they are not getting because they feel that they're frustrated or they wouldn't be listening. They want more. And personally, when I first became a therapist, I went into therapy because I was so hurt in an emotional relationship and I wanted to repair that. And BetterHelp is a place that you can do just that for yourself. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's a professional therapy done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas. The service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your therapist. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. So you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change therapists as needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit their website and read their testimonials that are posted daily. One of them is, Anthony wrote, "Karen is great. She's attentive, gives great advice, and really makes you think about your issues so you can resolve them in a fashion where you are comfortable." Visit betterhelp.com/SSS. That's better, HELP, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp, they are now recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states. We have a special offer for you. For Stop Self-Sabotage listeners, you get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/SSS. As a therapist myself, I can't recommend them more sincerely. Go online, talk to them. They will be very attentive to your needs and they will get you the help you want. Hello, Dr. David Luce. Nice to have you on this program. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Now, give us, we know you're an MD. We know you specialize in heart. Tell us your background a little bit, please.
Well, I went to Dartmouth College. I actually got a degree in English, then went to Harvard Medical School, did my internal medicine internship and residency, ended up doing a infectious disease fellowship in virology at Yale.
I'm so sorry you couldn't have gone to good school.
Well, it was really, I kept going, what am I doing here? How did this go on? You kind of watch, looking around, there are people with photographic memories, and it was really kind of interesting. And then, so I had a bunch of different things I did in my career, worked in Indian reservations, inner city stuff, Cambodia, refugee camps.
Wow.
Ended up coming out to Colorado because the West just had a special place for me, I would say viscerally. I came out and went, grew up in the Midwest, schooled in the East, but I loved the West. And came out to work with a friend of mine from the Indian Health Service and got interested in the alternative medicine, shall we say, that other healing modes at that time were very new. It wasn't, it was something that there was the Western doctors and there are these other people that were over here. But I got involved in that and ended up having, being a co-founder of I would say one of the first really true holistic medical practices. It was in Boulder, Colorado, a place that would, was very friendly to that.
Open to that,
and,
yes.
Yeah, very much so. And so I've always been a science guy. I'm not an acupuncturist. I'm not a chiropractor. I don't do any of that stuff, but I saw the efficacy of it.
Yes.
It was demonstrated all the time. And you would have, there's more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak. And so I've always, it's been very interesting to me. I got deeply involved in biochemistry. A lot of what I do in my practice is looking deeply into the biochemistry of people and looking to find out what's happening before you actually have the doorbell ring and there's a disease standing there inviting itself into your house.
I love that analogy. Yeah. So functional medicine, preventative medicine, which is what we all should be doing. And too much of medicine today is they'll treat you after it happened, So we want to, like you said, get them before they come in the house.
And I was very fortunate. I went to a course on biochemical nutrition, and they had a lot of the leading edge people in holistic medicine, science people from around the country teaching in this. Met some fun people, but I met this man named Sam Queen, who taught me how to look at blood testing in a way that was so different. I'm sitting there going like, how do you know this stuff? Because, I went to, have it. And I didn't hear any of this stuff there, that he was teaching me and teaching the rest of us. And what turned out to be even more incredible is that he was right. And so you could look into people's chemistries that otherwise you would say, oh, it's all normal. And suddenly it wasn't normal at all. It sort of stood out like in a three-dimensional pattern. And you'd go, oh my goodness, well, you've got, I don't need to go into that piece of it, but at any rate, so it delved much more deeply into the body and looked at these are all science-based things, homeostatic processes. How does the body actually keep itself in balance? And you control pH. You want to be aerobic, calcium phosphate. And one of the big six was inflammation.
Oh, yes.
That you looked at.
Yeah.
Which is, and I'm not a cardiologist, but, if you do enough medicine and you do enough of a particular thing and study it, you can become, pretty experienced in working with people, who have the problem.
Right.
And, and which is, so I still have a concierge practice that I do. A lot of it involves hormones. A lot of it involves cardiology because, a little over a year and a half ago, I got approached by somebody who was a former golfing friend about a technology that actually has been around for a long time, ultrasounds, ultrasound is bouncing sound waves off of your body. You can do ultrasounds of your heart, you do it of your abdomen, non-invasive, simple technique to try to see what's happening beneath the skin.
Right.
And this was an ultrasound of the carotid arteries. So it's an artery up in your neck. It's feeding your brain. It is very close to the heart. And you can look at this and see, do you have plaque either in the arterial wall itself? And I don't want the purpose of this is not to become overly doctory with people and go, oh God, here he goes. But it's more to say, a simple 10-minute test
to tell you.
So this thing, the resolution is down to 1/1000th of a millimeter. And this has been around for a long time, the technique of ultrasounding and ultrasounding the carotid arteries, but not to the sensitivity that we're are using this. This has been vetted through all of the medical literature. It's not even remotely controversial. It's just how frequently do doctors make use of a technique that's been around for 20 years?
Right.
And so we began looking into doing scans. All of my patients, adults, I would send to get scans. People, there's a number, 0.600 millimeters. So 6/100ths of a millimeter. If you're below that, they say you're healthy. If you're above that, you've got some plaque, and it's inside the wall of the artery. And then you can have plaque inside the lumen of the artery. It's all plaque. And actually, that's really what heart disease is in America. I mean, you can have problems with your with the valves of your heart. You could have a viral infection of your heart. You can have blood pressure, other issues. But for the vast majority of people, heart disease, the biggest killer in the country.
The biggest killer. Yes. Yeah.
It's out of control inflammation in the arteries of your body. You've got 60,000 miles of blood vessels.
Oh my gosh. 60,000 miles? Wow.
Yeah, isn't that
wow.
crazy?
Now, you said something. Let me interrupt you for 1 second. You said something about the lumen. I don't know what the lumen is. Tell me.
Inside.
What?
So it's inside. So if you had a pipe.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
If you had a pipe, there'd be the outside of the pipe. There's the thickness of the pipe. That's the arterial wall. Yeah. And where the fluid flows through the pipe, that's called the lumen.
I gotcha. Okay.
So it's like your kitchen sink. When the water drains out, it goes through the opening that it drains through. That's a lumen.
I gotcha. Okay, good. And you're saying that that's where heart disease, the majority of heart disease resides. And as you said, it is the number one killer of Americans. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but it doesn't matter your fitness or what you're eating, or I mean, I'm sure that helps. But the classic, the James Fix guy who's Book of Running, and he drops over and from a heart attack, and everyone's going, "Oh my gosh!" They either went, "Oh, I have to go get a test," or they said, "Well, I'm giving up running because it hurts and it doesn't help anything anyway." Whatever. Yeah, but what happened there was that that kind of heart attack was from soft plaque, as I understand it. Is that the case?
Yeah, probably. You have. Yeah, when you get into the deeper nuts and bolts of this, you find out that we have found out. Scanning in Denver and in north of Denver and Boulder and surrounding there, 90% of people, these are just adults, either in my practice, other practices, friends of friends, whoever shows up, 90% of people have plaque to some degree. It can be mild, moderate, severe. We've had people, patients of mine, one guy in particular, he goes in, he's feeling fine. He's a professor at CU. He's got 80% blockage in both of his carotids. Oh,
and he's feeling fine. He's feeling fine. No symptoms.
Yep. He has no idea that that's going on there. We had somebody else who had a 95% obstruction. And you never know what you're going to find. And the other piece of it that is really flies in the face of conventional thinking is that the cholesterol is not predictive. You'll go, what? So your cholesterol level, you can have, there was an Olympic athlete who came to get scanned and real fit, etc. And there's quite a bit of plaque, a severe amount of plaque in this person's carotid arteries. And the response of the individual was, well, that can't be true. Well, it can't be. I'm a long distance runner. How can this be? Yeah. And it's like, well, it be, because here it is. You can look at it and you can see it. Yeah. Or I've got another guy he has a cholesterol of 350. And
Jeez.
his LDLs, the bad guys, so-called bad guys, are like 245. And he's got the arteries. They can look at this thickness, and then they can extrapolate and tell you how old your arteries are, so you can, in some way, identify with this machine and this number. He had arteries of a 34-year-old. He was 60, but he doesn't have any plaque. So how can you have? I mean, so you could have a cholesterol of 160 and have a lot of plaque, have a cholesterol of 350, not have any plaque. Point being, your cholesterol number that you get from your doctor there's no guarantee with that.
It's not predictive.
That is correct.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, people might want to quibble with that and say, well, because what about the Framingham study, and the lower your cholesterol went, the fewer heart attacks there were. And yep, that kind of stuff is true. But when you're trying to diagnose arterial inflammation from a blood test of looking at total cholesterol, you can't do it.
Wow. Wow. So what is the easiest way to find out if you have heart disease?
Oh, you do one of these. I would say that
you do one of these scans.
Yeah, you do a carotid artery scan. It's called CIMT. It stands for carotid. That's the name of the artery. Intima. You've got three muscular layers in an artery: intima, media, adventitia. So the intima, between the intima and the media, is where plaque is laid down, like a toothpaste like stuff. It's put down there, and you can have more or less. And
full disclosure, I have had this done, and I was very relieved that I didn't have any plaque in my carotid artery, but and I did it because, I'm concerned about heart disease. I'm concerned that I don't want to be one of these people that I have known that, overnight doesn't get up the next morning. So, would this have helped my friend who died suddenly if he had this and he knew this?
Oh, absolutely. You can, the thing about heart disease, you can make this incredible statement now. You can say, it's your choice. And you go, what?
What?
Yeah, it is your choice. So the technology is there, first of all, to find it.
Yes.
And we're talking a 10-minute test where somebody puts a little KY jelly on your neck.
Right.
And you go up and down, a little wand goes up and down.
Doesn't hurt.
Talking about the Broncos, talking about whatever you care about talking about. No pain, relatively inexpensive. And then these sound waves get taken into some type of technological software that's able to read out the thickness, gives you numbers.
Right.
And they can see plaque, they can look at thickness, and you can treat this. Now, it is, I'm going to use the name. There's a drug out called Repatha. It's an injectable. It lowers LDLs dramatically. To me, it's a better drug than the statins, although the statins are still considered, they're still the frontline drugs. But you can, with great assurance, tell people that if you treat with these medications, lifestyle things play a role, but that your plaque will go away. It will strip down. Your blood flow will increase.
Let me stop there for 1 second, Dr. Luce. Your plaque will go away. Okay? So you are reversing heart disease.
That's correct. Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that crazy?
So what?
Crazy.
That's not possible. It's like, so when I did one of these scans, and my wife and I went and did these scans, and I come up and my age, my IMT, intima media thickness, was quite low, 0.525, and that made me have the arteries of a 30-year-old, which I felt all fat and sassy about that. I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And I don't have a family history. Look, genetics is important in this. You got a family history of a lot of, strokes and heart attacks, and you better go find out where you are.
Yeah.
Because this is not a death sentence. You can find out where you are. And then you have to find, you will have to involve a physician at some point, because then you have to treat it.
Of course. So we're talking diagnosis here. You get diagnosed, and then you, of course, treat. Diagnostics before treatment. But if you know, then you can treat. And if you don't know, then you're walking around thinking that you may be treating it by, eating cauliflower or jogging or, sleeping well, but you may not. You may have all this, as you said before, without knowledge.
That's correct. There's a cardiologist in Denver, Dr. Jeffrey Boone, and my wife and I had gone to him to get his wisdom on this stuff. And I also had a hard plaque, a calcified plaque in each of my carotids, but I have these seemingly very young arteries. And he looks at me and he says, "You should be on a statin." And I went, "What? Why would I do that?" But I've spent a lot of time around this man. He's done over 25,000 of these types of scans.
Yes.
He is the cardiologist to several major sports teams in all the different sports, in Denver, the Broncos, the Rockies, the Avalanche, and then other cities as well. And your degree of physical fitness does not protect you. Yet that's no guarantee. You can be a world-class athlete. You can be an Olympic athlete, as this one person was, and still have a ton of plaque. And your arteries are wildly inflamed. They're out of control. And it is the inflammation that it does the dirty work. Actually, it's the arteries where the disease sits, and it's the heart that takes the hit.
Of course. Yeah, I understand. My brother died suddenly of a heart attack, and he had diabetes. And, it's a vascular disease. So it had attacked him, and he just didn't get up one morning. And there are people who've had heart attacks. And I've had friends who've had heart attacks, who've had stents, who've had all kinds of heart issues. Now, could they be helped by knowing some of this, by taking the scan and knowing their level of plaque in their arteries?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how I would do my medical practice now if I didn't have this technology.
Really?
I mean, it's so simple, and it allows you to look underneath the surface. It is definitive of telling you whether you've got plaque. And do you have soft plaque? So soft plaque, that's this sort of gooey, lava-like, inflamed stuff. And it's the soft plaque that causes 90% of heart attacks are caused by soft plaque. So it can burst out like a pimple or something into the lumen into the center of the vessel, stop all the blood flow, and everything downstream doesn't get blood. And if you don't have other sources of blood there, you have a heart attack, the cells die, and you could die.
Right. So that's if it goes to the heart. If it goes to the brain, it's
a stroke.
Yeah. Yeah. So this diagnostic test we're talking about, and my practice is around psychology and around self-sabotage, and I'm asking you on this program because I do think that many of us unintentionally self-sabotage around this issue. We think we're doing all the right stuff, right? We go to our doctor, we take a statin, we eat vegetables. But, you still have a heart attack. So it's like, whoa. So if we don't want to do that, we're going to have to dive deeper. We're going to have to take something like this scan that you're talking about, that's non-invasive, because I don't like needles. I mean, who does? I always wanted to go to medical school, except I didn't like the blood. that got in my way. Yeah. So there was that. Okay. So, but will my doctor give me this test? If I go to my internist and say, I want this test, can I get it there?
Maybe. I am amazed.
But probably not.
Well, yeah. I mean, ultrasounding of the carotid arteries has been around for over 20 years, but it is the degree of sensitivity of this particular test that allows you to go deeper. So I've had people come in and they've had ultrasounds from other physicians and they said I was fine. I go, oh, really? Can I see the scan? And so they've got plaque in their artery. And I'll tell you that if you have plaque if you can find any plaque in any artery, you should be being treated to reverse that process, because it's not going to be just isolated in one spot. It's going to be throughout the arterial system, in your body. Mm-hmm. So it depends on the physician. How forward thinking is the physician? The way most things work in medicine that are truly revolutionary is that the patients go and they demand to have it.
Yes.
That's how it went with holistic medicine. Yeah. I mean, it was people, they'd go to their doctor, oh, you're fine. And they go, but they weren't fine. They felt awful.
They felt bad. Yeah.
And so what did they do? They went other directions because they sought other options.
Right.
And so other healing modalities gained footing, mm-hmm. which turned out to be a good thing.
Of course.
But I believe what will happen is physicians are very difficult to convince or change. I like to say that medicine is very religious, meaning that you're taught something at a particular school and you're not taught the same. Everybody isn't taught the same way. You might think that everybody knows the same stuff, but there was a guy at Dartmouth that showed very clearly that different diseases were treated differently in different regions of the country.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He was famous. It was so interesting. So if you walked into New York and you had chest pain, I'm making this up. I don't know this for a fact, but you'll get the idea. The first line would be medical treatment, meaning you would take medications to try to reverse what was going on. And let's say another city, Boston, it might be bypass surgery. You'd walk in and the way that they were taught, they aggressively went after and did surgery. So you have different approaches, but you have to. So I have patients all over the country. And it's very interesting to try to find a scan for people that is the quality that we want to know and that they want to know in other cities. It would seem like it shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you with another group of doctors, like you were mentioning, is Dr. Boone, are working with this scan right now in Denver, right now in Boulder, but I'm understanding that the intent is to branch out around the country in different facilities. Is that the case?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time. It's the
Exactly.
Technology is so good. The other piece that happens is that medicine now is largely, it's a business. This is my personal opinion. When I became a doctor, it was still a profession. And you spent the time that you spent with your patients and, it wasn't limited by business concerns. And nowadays, the cardiologists will tell you that their practice is run by, they refer to it as the suits. So business people, you get 15 minutes with a patient.
Oh my gosh.
True. You get 15 minutes and then you have to go on to the next one. One of our people, his brother has been a cardiologist at Johns Hopkins for 40 some years.
Yes.
Nationally well known. And it's like, so he goes, are you doing this in your practice? He goes, no, I don't have time. The people I see are so sick, I don't have time to be preventive. But so our idea on this, and what I would say every physician ought to go and do, is have this type of technology in their back pocket. It's something that they have to have a place to send their people, or if they want to do it in their own office, that whatever fits the bill for them.
Right.
But you want a machine that can give you this very detailed, sensitive reading.
This data.
And then you have to and then you got to have somebody who is not afraid to treat this aggressively, because the treatment right now, the two best things that we know to do are to use at least what I do in my practice. I use, if tolerated, a low dose statin. So Lipitor, Simvastatin, Rosuvastatin, whatever. And then I use Repatha, or they're referred to as PCSK9 inhibitors. K9 like K9 as opposed to dog. But
I got it.
And they lower the LDLs dramatically. So I decided to treat myself after hanging around with Dr. Boone a while and sending patients to him, and my wife goes to him, etc. I've gone to him. And I'm doing both of those things in a preventive way. Why would I do that? Because it's clear to me that, and this is my individual statement, the company that makes Repatha, Amgen, would never, they could not say what I'm going to say. But this drug also helps the vascular flow in the brain, and it helps people that are having cognitive decline. It improves their thinking process.
Oh my gosh.
It is.
You're going to stop them from having you're going to hopefully prevent a heart attack by early diagnosis and increase their cognitive abilities.
That's what I watch happening with people. So I'm going to be 75. Don't feel 75, but that's my chronological age. And I'm going, I want to ensure, I'm not worried that I'm going to have a heart attack, but I want to make sure that my cognitive function is as good as it can possibly be. And that drug, Repatha, it's a miracle drug.
Wow.
In terms of how it functions.
Yes.
Now, you have to find the right doctor, however, because we've had people come and get scanned and it's ugly. They've got a very a bad load of plaque, very concerning. And this one fellow went to, he said, I have a cardiologist that I play golf with. And so he went to that cardiologist who sort of ho-hummed the whole thing. He didn't really treat the guy aggressively, and the guy died in his car in a parking lot.
Oh, I hate to hear that. Well,
no, everybody does.
Of course. I had a friend. that happened to. Okay. I mean, he was no symptoms, and So, okay. So I'm assuming that this test, then, I mean, I want to have the test. I'm assuming that the cost is pretty high.
Currently, it's we're still early stages, so it's $150, which is ridiculous. You go other places, it's more. Eventually the cost will go up a little bit, but That's
I was being
yeah.
facetious. I have had the test. I have paid $150. But if I was listening, I would be thinking, okay, great, this sounds great. I should have this test. I want to be preventative. I don't want to be like my Uncle Harry, and die at Thanksgiving or whatever. But I don't have the money. But almost anyone who works has $150. And, to invest in your health, to prevent, to know that you have significant plaque. I mean, this is something we should come up with.
And the other thing to reinforce again is that, and I'm living in Colorado, and Boulder is kind of a fanatical. My practice had been in Boulder for years and years, and it's a very, very health conscious place. We're talking out of 10 people, nine of those 10 people are going to have a plaque in their arteries. They're going to be in the process of chronic ongoing arterial inflammation equals heart disease. It may be mild, but 90% we have found have this.
Right.
So
do it now.
You actually have to go and do the test to prove that you don't have it.
Exactly. So if I wanted to, like I said, I have had it. If I wanted to, I'm listening, and you've now convinced me that this is a good thing to invest in for myself. What do I do? Who do I call? How do I get in touch with the scanning company? What do I do?
Well, our group is called Core Scans, COR for heart, and SCANS, Core Scans, all one word.
.com.
There's our website. You can go on there. There's a phone number. Right now, we are regional in Colorado. I've had patients fly in from Texas, from Montana, who are my personal patients. They can't find the technology in their area that's going to give us the detail that we want.
Right.
And they're serious about their health. They buy a plane ticket. They fly in, they get themselves scanned. And for that matter, they can fly home the same day.
Sure.
But then you've got the data. And then and I know how to get people. Insurance at this point doesn't cover this scan, but I know how to, if you will, play the game to get people on the appropriate medications, and in most cases, get their insurance companies to pay for it.
I love that. So Core Scans, CORSCANS.com. And that'll have all the information. And I have a friend who's flying in 5 days to get a scan. So,
cool.
I've been singing the song here, and I'm singing it louder now. I've done it. My husband's done it. My husband found out that he needed to take some pretty quick action, which he is, with your help. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And it sounds way too good to be true.
Yeah.
You listen to this and it'll say Core Scans, heart disease. It's your choice. Yes. It's like, come on. But anybody in preventive medicine who's science-based.
Yes.
We know we have all the tools now to prevent heart disease.
Or to reverse it, even if you have it. To reverse it too. That's what I love too.
Well, you can see it. So I'm going to give you an example. So when my wife and I first went to see Dr. Boone, and he was talking to us about our scans, and he's got lots of show and tell, and so he pulls up a type of MRI of the brain, and it was of a professional football player whose name I don't know, but mid-30s, and there were 42 little black dots in this scan, and those little black dots are interpreted to be small strokes. So post-concussive football injury strokes, and the guy's in cognitive decline. He does have plaque in his arteries through his system, so they treat him. comes back in a year. And he and his family both say, my thinking is better. And they go, really? And, they do repeat certain scans, and they repeated that one scan, and 30 of the 42 little black areas were gone. So that means that those cells weren't dead. They weren't functioning well because their blood flow was low. You open the flow of blood by beginning to strip out the plaque that's there, and you begin to reverse that decline. Now, it's
amazing.
So anybody in my practice who's got a history of dementia in their family, I push very hard for them. I can't say that, here, this is going to cure Alzheimer's or Lewy body disease, but I'm taking the drug, and I'm not a big pharmaceutical guy. I'm taking Repatha to prevent any cognitive decline. The older you get, what's your most valuable commodity? It's just, it's your brain and your awareness, because your body's eventually going to age, but I don't want my brain to age until it has to. Dr. Boone will say, you can't live to 115 unless you aggressively pursue that goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I understand.
They said, look, everybody in the world will die of heart disease unless you do something about it eventually, or unless something else gets you first.
Wow.
So, yeah, this sounds too good to be true, but it is. There's plenty of documentation to show that the plaque goes away, because year to year they do scans on these people, and you can see it.
You see the decline, plaque.
Yeah, he uses his own data to show people this is what can go on.
I'm so grateful to have met you and to have had this scan. That's why I have you on, because my program is to help people live the fullest life they can live, to not self-sabotage, whether it be in their physical health, their mental health, their cognitive health, wherever it could happen. So you and your colleagues are doing such significant work, and thank you for what you do.
Oh, you're welcome. And we think so too. We actually can't believe that nobody's done this before. You look around going, really?
Really?
It's like, it's like McDonald's. They started out with a 15-cent hamburger, and look what happened. This is the most relevant test that I've seen in cardiology. Maybe blood pressure could be more, but I'm hard pressed to think of anything that is as significant as this, with a disease that has the prevalence that cardiovascular disease has.
Yes. And it's not just U.S. I mean, it's worldwide.
It's worldwide. And This is, I've listened to podcasts with cardiologists all over the world.
Yes. Yes.
From, Australia, Europe. And what's coming out now is the only thing they don't talk about total cholesterol, triglycerides, HDLs. The only thing that these leading academic cardiologists care about is the LDL, low density lipoproteins.
Right.
That is the damage causer. And so that's what they work so hard to bring down.
Yes.
Through these medicines that work in different ways. But the lower the LDLs go, bad side effects, no. Any reason not to do it thus far, after almost 6 years of Repatha having been out? No, they don't see that. And so my LDLs are 15. Oh. I know, it sounds crazy. It's like, what?
What? What?
But and so that's what Dr. Boone does too. I mean, it's and I've become a scientific convert. You can't argue with the data that looks.
That's right.
That looks you in the face.
Yeah, exactly. You've read it. You know it. The group you're working with is all dedicated to this. So get on the web, www.corescans.com. self-sabotage.com. Or do we have a number that people could call to set up a scan?
The number will be on there. It's actually my colleague Mark Saunders. It's his phone number. There'll be another one that comes up soon.
Okay, good. Good.
I think it's 303-519-2433. If my Rapatha remembers.
If your cognitive enhancement is holding up.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, I want that too. Thank you so much, Dr. Luce. It's been a pleasure to see you and talk to you. And
thank you, Pat.
We'll do it again.
Yeah. Huge fun. Huge fun.
Thanks for listening. You can find more episodes and all of our other Hot Pie Media originals baked fresh daily at our home online at hotpiemedia.com, the Hot Pie Media YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to podcasts.